Okay, welcome back to If You're Fat, Lose Weight. And we are honored, and I say that every time, but this time I actually mean it, to be joined by the best looking American hockey player in NHL history, a golfing legend, a man who is never really lacks for words or stories, a man who isn't afraid to grab a rattlesnake and scare his wife or Vinny Del Negro with it, a stalwart in Republican politics, a whiskey connoisseur, a man who really needs no introduction, Jeremy J.R. Roenick. Welcome.
That was impressive.
Thank you.
That was a lot. That was a lot in that introduction. I got to say, that's best looking American. That's a first. And I'll take that charity all day long. That's for sure. How are you? What's going on, buddy? What's going on, Joel?
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on. I'll start out by saying, I'm a former basketball coach. I am a hockey fan, but I'm more like a San Jose Sharks fan. I'm from Northern California. So, we appreciate your 2 years with us. What was it like playing with Joe Thornton? I don't know if you've been asked that, but he was our guy for many years.
I've been asked that a lot. And let me tell you something. He's probably one of the greatest teammates, not only in hockey. I think he's one of the best teammates in all of sports. And I don't care what sport you go to, team sports, there's not a guy like Jumbo Joe. And I've said this about Joe many times, and I truly believe that this is a fact, that on every team that Joe Thornton is on, you can ask every player in the room on Joe's team who their favorite player on the team is, and every single one will say Joe Thornton, will say Jumbo.
Wow.
And that's probably one of the best compliments that I can give Joe. I mean, not to mention he's one of the biggest competitors I've ever played with, and talented players, but nobody loved to be in the locker room and play the game more than Joe. And he brought everybody into the center of that room and made them feel a part of it. And listen, if you weren't playing well or you weren't pulling your weight, he let you know. If you did something great, he would let you know. He was such an all-around awesome guy and captain and leader that I love him to death. As you can tell, he's one of my favorite people in the world.
It's too bad the Sharks never won a cup. I mean, with him as the centerpiece. I mean, he just, the way he passes and, I don't know. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, again, that's the hardest trophy to win in all of sports. And you look at some of the players in this world that have never won one, me being in that bunch. Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing, and it doesn't matter how good a team you're on, because that team that we had in 2008, 2009 was one of the best teams that I was ever associated with, and we should have made a run that year. And he got close there in 2000, I think it was 17 with the Sharks, but wasn't able to pull it off. And it's a crazy run to try to get there, and Jumbo and I weren't able to do it, but I think we appreciate it more that we didn't win it, to tell you the truth.
That makes sense. Well, that question was from my dad. He's from Chicago, big fan of yours and loves the Sharks. And he made me ask you about Joe Thornton.
That's a great question. It's a great question right off the bat, too. Get this right into it.
Okay. So hockey players, tough, like the toughest athletes, I think, of any sport. Would you agree with that?
I think they're definitely tough in a lot of different ways. They're tough physically in terms of fighting, their ability to do things on two blades that are just insane. Boxing on blades is crazy.
Yeah.
I think their mental, their toughness to play physical, hitting, the checking aspect, being able to play through pain, the toughness of being in very difficult situations. There is a lot of different things that hockey players have great traits on, especially in my era, right in the 90s. Pretty much the 90s, it was cutthroat, hard ass hockey, man. And if you weren't tough and you couldn't stand up for yourself and you couldn't take a hit or take a verbal beating, you were in for a short career.
Right. Well, I heard a clip of you talking about playing with a broken jaw on a 5-on-3 for 3.5 minutes with your jaw going back and forth. And you're just trying to score a goal, but playing for 3.5 minutes with a broken jaw, I think that's exclusive to hockey. That doesn't happen in most other sports.
Well, some of us are just outright crazy, and 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 for me, I wanted to win so bad, and I had such a competitive nature, and still do, by the way. Um, it all stemmed from me knocking out Mike Modano at the end of the season in 1999, and we had a home with Dallas. I knocked Mike Modano out behind the net, and we go into Dallas the next day, and in the paper it just said, payback is a bitch,
Mhm.
and I knew I was going to get it. I knew it was going to be a hard night for me. I didn't really figure or I underestimated what I was going to get. And in the first period, I kind of came around the net, and Craig Ludwig slashed me and broke my thumb. And a second and a half later, Darian Hatcher threw an elbow and broke my jaw in 5 or 6 different places.
Oh my God.
And because of that, we had a 5-minute power play, 5-on-3. And
Hmm.
I remember I was at the bench and I was pulling my teeth almost out of my mouth, and blood's dripping all over the place. And my trainer says, "Hey, we got to get out of here, man. That thing is smashed." I'm like, "No way, man." And I'm talking as much as I can without my jaw being able to move. I said, I'm playing on this 5-on-3, and I'm going to score a goal, because all I wanted to do was score a goal on that 5-on-3 and then exit the arena with my middle finger up to the rest of the stand saying, suck on that. Um, but it went on. It went on further than that, and then the next week was the playoffs, the start of the playoffs, and we were playing St. Louis in the first round, and it reached 7 games, and it was about 15 or 16 days after I broke my jaw, and I went out and played Game 7 to try to win it with a big old face mask. And listen, it's your mouth, it's your jaw. It'll be fine. I don't need to play with my mouth. I don't need to play with my jaw, even though I complained a lot and yelled on the ice, but. I didn't need a jaw to play that game, and I could say, listen, if it breaks again, I got all summer to let it heal. So it was worth everything just to get in that game.
So are the doctor's like, sure, or is it a negotiation? You're like, I don't care if I break my jaw
No,
again, it's fine.
there was no negotiation.
You just
I
told them what
actually,
was what.
I just had I had a great doctor. His name is Dr. Reed Day out of Phoenix. He's an awesome maxillofacial reconstruction guy,
Wow.
and they put together a beautiful helmet for me to guard my mouth, and I'm sure if I got hit really hard, that face mask is going to come hit me in the mouth, but they did a good job protecting me, and then I did a good job of protecting myself, making sure I didn't. I didn't lean head first. I always went in with my shoulder first and made sure that I protected it. But it was, unfortunately, we lost 1-0 in overtime
Yeah.
in Game 7. But it was a memorable. Listen, nobody can tell me that I didn't care. I didn't give everything I had, or jeopardize, or put myself into some pretty
Yeah.
risque situations. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right. Before we get off hockey, what are your thoughts on Gary Bettman? 30 years. I mean, I'm very well versed
Mm-hmm.
in other sports and other sports commissioners, but like as a hockey player and a retired hockey player, what are the thoughts on his tenure? And has he been? I mean, obviously good and bad with everything, but what are the
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, you take it from an ex-player, right? And
Hmm.
I understand. I understand a lot of the fans. Every time that he comes on the ice, he gets booed.
Yeah.
I mean, every commissioner gets booed,
I mean,
and
David Stern. Yeah. Yeah. He was the
yeah,
king of that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
they all get booed. And listen, as unfair as it may be, it is the owners and it is the commissioner that is really part of the lockouts when the players don't play, when the game is kept from the players, play from the fans. The players, the players' fault too. But I mean, it's ultimately the owners as of late that have said, we want these provisions, we want these, we can't give you these,
Hmm.
and so I understand the fans' mentality. You take it from a player's mentality. What Gary Bettman has done for the National Hockey League is almost unprecedented. When he came in 1993, the league was making $750 million, and by next year they forecast being close to $6 billion. So
Wow.
within 30 years, he has turned that industry and that organization around in that league to a mega billionaire giant. And granted, the players did a lot of that, but we needed somebody to lead the way. And I think he's done a great job of getting the game on, on national television,
Yep.
expanding the game. I still think he can do a lot more to promote the players,
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
the personalities of the players. But the National Hockey League is not about individuals; it's about
Hmm.
team, and they let you know that very, very early. And one of the reasons why I'm probably not around as much as maybe I should be or I could be is because I'm more of an honest, in your face. I say some of the things that they don't want you to hear, or I'm a little bit more harder on the teams that or the players that they want. And unfortunately, that's it's not their cup of tea.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that here on If You're Fat, Lose Weight. We like to push the boundaries and hear what actually people really think. And that's actually a really interesting perspective on Gary Bettman, because yes, the fans have their own opinions, and I consider myself, a casual fan, really.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's good to hear that. All
Yeah,
right. So
he really is a really good guy. If you're with him one on one, he's got a good quick wit, and although he looks like he's full of himself and very arrogant, he really isn't. He's a good dude. I mean, I've liked him for a long time, and not that I agree with all of the way he runs the
of
league
course,
or his
right.
things, but you can't argue with the league where it is right now.
Right, right. Okay, so the other thing I did when I told some people that you were coming on, I have some friends who love the NHL, and I asked them, what should I ask JR, and everybody comes back to Mike Modano, and not really so much on hockey per se. I know he was the first pick. You were what were you, the eighth or ninth pick?
Eighth
Pick.
pick, yeah.
Yeah, and so you guys had that. But how's his golf game, Mike Modano?
His golf game is great. He's got one of the best swings, and would you be surprised? I mean, one
Hmm.
of his he's one of the smoothest, one of the most graceful hockey players that ever played the game.
Yeah.
You would think that he does all sports like that. He's just a graceful, beautiful person. That's just what Mike Modano is. I mean, whether you like him or not, I love him, and I loved him even when I played against him. We've battled against each other since we were 10, 11 years old, and through coming up through the USA ranks. And it was always, who was the better player? Was it Mike Modano? Was it myself? Was it a couple other players at the time were really good, but it was always Mike and I at the top. And so when I got to play him in the National Hockey League, he was my stepping stone. I mean, he was my barrier, right? And if I beat Mike Modano that day, or I got the best of Mike Modano that day, or if I finished with more points than he did that year, then I was the better player.
Right.
I mean, not the better player, but
I got
if
it.
you can, Mike Modano, to me, is the best American ever born. Um, and
That's
I
high
think
praise. Yeah.
I truly believe that he's right now the highest scoring American of all time, and I think he'll be there for a while. Whether somebody passes him, whether it's Patrick Kane or Austin Matthews or something, will yet to be seen. But I love Mike Modano, and even though I knocked him out a few times, I got suspended. I got suspended doing it a couple times. It wasn't because I didn't like him; it was because I respected him so much, and wanted to beat him because he was so good.
Well, how's your golf game now? You playing a
Golf
lot?
golf game, yeah, golf game's really good. I finished fifth in the Hilton Resorts
Oh,
LPGA tournament a few weeks back. I actually had third wrapped up, but I doubled the 72nd hole and let Annika Sorenstam get in front of me. So
that was
unfortunately,
nice. That was nice of you.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so I finished top five there. Won a couple tournaments back here in San Diego. Got another great tournament coming up in April in Dallas. It's it's good with the Champions Tour. It's going to be a great time, and that's in Dallas. So yeah, I'm playing a lot of golf. Unfortunately I'm a plus one,
Whoa.
which does not do well for
Yeah.
making money on the golf course. I got to give too many shots away.
Wow.
So
Wow. So
so
you're a plus one, and you are you playing? How many days a week do you play? I'm in Miami Beach, so we can play every day here.
yeah. Yeah, well, I'm in San Diego, so
Right.
I play I probably play about three times a week. I do have a real job. I work for a construction company as head of sales and marketing, which is a lot of fun because a lot of my time is on the golf course, entertaining our clients and taking them to hockey games and taking them out to show them a good time. But I belong to a great track here in San Diego called Del Mar Country Club.
Yep.
It's a tremendously hard golf course and one that challenges you, but it makes it a lot easier to play other golf courses when I play the course that I play every day.
That's good. Are you playing for
Yeah.
big stakes these days, or not really? I heard a Michael Jordan story where you went out with him and he was drinking beer, and then he told you he was going to score 40 or something. Yeah,
I don't play the big stakes that I used to play, and I told you one of the reasons my handicap is so low that literally I'm giving 10, 11 shots to 10 handicappers that can shoot 80, 80, 81 consistently. So that doesn't bode well for winning money. Yeah. And I did play Michael a few times, and we did play 36 the day of his last game of the season, and he bet me what I won that he would score 40 and the team would win by more than 20, and he blew both of those away after downing a bunch of cocktails and getting a car from the golf course straight to Chicago Stadium so he could play the game. The man's a freak of nature, and if anybody says that Michael Jordan isn't the most competitive and one of the best athletes they've ever seen, just does not know Michael Jordan at all. He is truly an amazing man.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about him and you compare him to other people, I mean, just the inevitability when you used to watch him of victory for him. I mean, people talk about LeBron. He's in the news a lot right now with his breaking the all-time career scoring record. But to me, there'll never be anybody like him because of the
LeBron couldn't carry Michael Jordan's shoes, and I'll say that till I hit the grave. Right. I think The Last Dance kind of showed you the behind the Michael Jordan's mind, right? How he competed, how he practiced, how he challenged his teammates, how he went about his career. He's one of the best athletes that sports has ever seen, not basketball, sports. And I love him to death. He's out there in Jupiter. I'm on the West Coast. I don't get to see him as much as I would like. But
have you played the Grove?
I haven't played it yet, but be sure I'm planning on moving out to the East Coast at some point. So I'll be hitting them up for a couple of rounds when I get out there. Yeah,
I think you'll like it. It's a great golf experience. I don't think the course is very challenging, but especially for a +1. But it's a great golf experience. He's actually very friendly to mere mortals.
Well, he's the best. Listen, anybody comes to his course, he's going to appreciate you. He's going to bring you in with open arms. That's the type of person Michael is. But I heard the clubhouse is a great hang.
It's great. It's great. Yeah, every time you're in there, you see people. For your contemporaries. For me, it's famous people.
Exactly.
What's it like golfing with Trump?
It's actually it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's nerve wracking because you have Secret Service all around you. When I played with him, while he was president, there's literally 42 golf carts that are following behind you in the fairway and. That are up at the green, and there's a lot of attention and a lot of hoopla going on, but he's a very, very complimentary man, right? Mm-hmm. And he loves his stuff, right? He loves his golf course. He thinks he's got the best of everything. He's like, this is the best golf course you've ever seen. We have the best golf courses, and this is the best tree that's ever been planted. This is the best lake that you've ever seen on the golf course. All that stuff. But you know what? He's proud of his stuff. Yeah. But he's also extremely giving. I was playing golf with him one time. And so I got to the course a little bit early. We're teeing off at 8:30. I got there a little early, and I watched him walk in. And it was amazing watching all the people that worked at the club, whether they were busy or they weren't, all took the time to come up and say good morning to him. And he probably knew about 80% of everybody's name that worked there, which, number one, is pretty impressive. But what impressed me the most is we're on the second hole, and we're putting. And off to the right was the 8th fairway, and there was a lawnmower going up and back, and he was kind of looking at us. And when we finished, we were walking off. The gentleman jumped off the lawnmower, walked over to us just to say hi to Mr. Trump and said, "Good morning, Mr. Trump. How are you?" He says, "Hey, Miguel, nice to see you. How is everything? How's your wife?" And he's like, "Thank you so much, Mr. Trump. She's doing much better. Thank you for everything." And I come to find out, that Donald took care of all of her medical bills because she had major cancer, and wow. and Trump made sure that his family didn't have to worry about anything medical or And, that was just somebody that worked at his golf course. I mean, he doesn't have to do that. And it bothers me to hear a lot of this negativity and, calling him a racist. Donald Trump's as far from a racist as you could possibly imagine. And it bothers me a lot. But he has his flaws, which is his mouth is big. He likes to brag. He likes to boast. But he feels, listen, if I built this company, if I built my career, I built this, you should be able to brag about it. I mean, I'm not going to take that advice from him. But
did you feel like? Go ahead.
I do believe he was the best president that we've ever had in the history of our world. Yeah.
Did you campaign with him, or what was your relationship there? If you feel comfortable sharing, yeah.
No, I don't care. No, of course I feel comfortable. I did some fundraising for him here in San Diego. We did a couple events here. I went to go see him in Arizona when he did one of his rallies, and so I helped as much as I could. Obviously, donated to his campaign, and it's been an interesting transition from the Trump years into the years that we're in now. We're in absolute turmoil in our country and our life. So hopefully something changes in the next couple of years.
So you're not a Biden fan. Who are you hoping for in 2024?
Well, I mean, that's hard to say. I think we have some really high quality possible candidates. I mean, Nikki Haley is great. I mean, she's not. I don't know if she's ready for a presidency yet. But you look at Ron DeSantis out of Florida, what he did there in Florida is unprecedented. And I think you want to talk about a mentality that has the Trump mentality, the Trump thinking, and would do the same things in terms of policies that Trump would do. Ron DeSantis would do that without the Twitter banter.
Yeah.
And you look at I'll tell you. You look at Tulsi Gabbard, who's went from a Democrat to an independent. It wouldn't be out of the question her turning Republican to run on a ticket with somebody. And I love Tim Scott out of South Carolina. He's a tremendous man, and he's a guy that has great morals, and he can really pull a lot of weight if he puts his behind it. And so I don't know. I always like this. I always like to see change and different people come in because it brings different attitudes and different policies. But I think Trump's going to be a very formidable opponent in 2024. We'll see if it happens, but I'm sure he's going to have a lot more people that are going to join that race and go against him.
Do you think he's for sure? He's already declared, but do you think he's for sure going to, see it through? Like fully run?
Well, if I know Donald the way I do, yes, because I do know he loves this country as much, if not more than anybody else. I think he really does care about it. And I do think that he thinks he is the only one that can save it. And in saying that, I truly believe that he wants to run because he does feel that he sees where it is right now and that he can save it. Whether the GOP find a way or convince him different because they want somebody younger or a different mentality and maybe promise him something within it, I don't know. Right. But it'll be really interesting to see how that all works out here in the next year.
I agree. I'm fascinated too. Yeah. I bet you if you told the country, both Democrats and Republicans, okay, we agree Joe Biden and Donald Trump shouldn't run. What do you think? 80% of people sign up for that or more or less?
I think you
take them both off the playing field.
I think you have 95% of the people that say that. If you take them both off the field. Right. And there's so many really cool cats out there. I don't think the Democrats have as many promising people as the Republicans do. It's laughable to think of Gavin Newsom wanting to be in there. What he's done to the state that I live in, California, is an absolute catastrophe of a joke. We have more people leaving California than any other state in the union, and for him to get on television to say that he's got the most freest state in the union, it's laughable to me. I lived in this state during COVID, and he didn't let anybody do anything for the longest time the taxes are crazy.
Yeah.
What they're trying to do with electric cars, I mean, it's absurd. So I had to get my Newsom jab into there because he's just atrocious of a person.
Well, we appreciate that.
I really don't see. I mean, we've seen what Kamala Harris can do, and
she's unelectable. She's unelectable.
That's nothing. That's nothing. But I don't know. Well, it's going to be interesting. It really is.
I mean, if I were a Republican, if I was a dry-hard Republican, what I would be fearful of is another Trump run. Only if he was the nominee, just because they've underperformed in 18, 20, and 22 with him on the ballot. And I don't think anybody's going to change their mind about him at this point.
This is what I would say. As much as I love Donald and as he's a friend of mine, if I had a choice, I would want DeSantis to run. The reason why I would prefer him not to run is because our country is already extremely divided. I mean, we're as divided as we ever have in the history, I think, of this country, arguably. And the divisiveness, the rhetoric, the racial tensions that the Democrats throw, and what the media does, it's really atrocious. Social media, television media, print media. We need someone who's going to bring everybody more together. That's going to slow that rhetoric down, and and unfortunately, Donald brings the opposite out in the Democratic Party and the media.
Yeah, for sure. Trump derangement syndrome is definitely real. Well, JR, you're the man, dude. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I really appreciate you coming on.
Hey, before I leave, you got to make sure everybody looks at my new whiskey. Which is
we're gonna link to it for sure.
Yeah, my newest venture. It's whiskeyinthewild.com, and it's the best chocolate whiskey you have ever had in your life. So we have chocolate and chocolate orange. I will guarantee you that if you're not a whiskey drinker, you will be if you buy whiskeyinthewild.com.
Well, we appreciate that. And just a couple of things before we go. You made a joke in 2019 on a podcast and you got fired from NBC. I listened to that. That was fucking wild that you got fired for that. Well, that was fucking wild.
It wasn't even really a joke as it was a story.
It wasn't even a thing. It was, Go ahead.
And, it wasn't even, it was myself, my wife, and our friend went on a trip, and we were, when you have two women and a guy on a trip, obviously it's going to feel uncomfortable. So we had fun with it. We made jokes about it. All three of us made jokes about it, and it was kind of a laughable thing. And, I just told the story how we just made it feel okay and feel right and feel comfortable by just making funny, cracking jokes. And my wife was involved. It's not like I said anything, but you know what? It's looking back, my life has been extremely, extremely good since I left there. And I never thought I could be this happy and have the life that I've had away from the game. With some of the things that I'm doing. And, some things happen for a reason. And, I found my whiskey. I found a phenomenal job that I love to do with great people. So it's not what happens to you. It's what you do with what happens to you. Right. And I'm a true believer in that.
For sure. Well, we appreciate it. And we're going to start a petition, all of my 7 listeners, to get you in the Hall of Fame. So don't worry about that. We're going to take care of that for you.
Well, and, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I appreciate that.
Well, you deserve to be in there. And thank you very much for coming on. And we'll link to all your stuff. And we really, really appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Joel. Have a great one. All right, bye-bye.